Hello and welcome. If my guest today had to write about his life right now, he could well begin with Charles Dickens's famous opening words. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. In the past fortnight, Dinesh Trivedi has been called a hero by some people. Others have said his grandstanding has endangered the government. People have praised his proposals for the railways, and yet he is no longer the minister. And frankly speaking, unless what we've seen in the last fortnight has been elaborately scripted, premeditated drama, he has no future with the Trinamool Congress. So where does Dinesh Trivedi go from here, and why did he do what he did? Let's find out from the man himself. Mr. Trivedi, you're back on the show 3 weeks after we had this long conversation about what you were going to do with the railway budget. Your economics, Mr. Trivedi, I think has got a lot of positive feedback. Why did the politics trip you up? Because when we spoke earlier, you had told me that, as I go to present this budget, I feel like I'm going to be doing a tightrope walk.
I said
and
that.
There is no safety net below.
I said that.
And you said that yet my job is to deliver this budget safely and to get the parliament to pass it, which means that I have to get the political consensus and support. Why were you not able to get that part of your job right?
Well, if you see the political support, and if you have seen my budget speech, each and every honorable member of parliament, they applauded, they were enjoying. I had few couplets and there was no protest. Even when I announced increase of fare, there was just no protest. On the contrary, people thumped their desk. So, politically and economically, I was correct. I was on the tightrope and I thought I walked it well. And I can tell you, seeing the mood of the parliament that day, this budget would have passed on very easily, without any problem. If my party would not have questioned, nobody would have questioned. Sure. Because then there was a race.
You did an interview with Times Now on the 19th, which is the day you resigned. On that interview, you said pretty categorically that the general direction of your budget or your thoughts on key issues like fare hikes was something that your party leader Mamata Banerjee would have known, because you spoke to a bureaucrat who you said is close to her. Yet on the 14th, after you presented the railway budget, on that day, you said nobody knew anything, you've done what you thought was right. What changed in those 5 days, Mr.
Really.
Trivedi? Give us a reason to understand what has driven you. Because while some people think you're a hero, there are other people who are alluding to the fact that you may be playing games.
It doesn't matter if people say I'm a hero or somebody say I'm a villain, if somebody said I played games. Ultimately, you're answerable at the end of the day to yourself. And as far as myself is concerned, I'm not trying to be a great philosopher of any kind. But I'm happy inside me and I know the facts. Nobody knows the facts more than I do.
What happened in those 5 days?
No, actually, I never mentioned that, certain things which are within the party domain. It is not proper for me and it is not my discipline to talk it outside.
But you have gone on the record, Mr. Trivedi.
When people come and on such interviews, they say, I just touch upon things. And whatever was my duty to the party, to the public, to the people, to the parliament, to the Prime Minister, I think I have tried my best to play all the roles to the best of my ability. And at the end of the day, I myself am little perplexed as to what exactly was the reason. Because if it is supposing rollback, let's for argument's sake, and the party leader could have easily spoken and said that, look here, this is what we want. And at the end of the day, I have been appointed by my party. So I would have tried to convince them, or they would have tried to convince me, but you must get an opportunity for that, no? Where was the opportunity?
I don't know, because, you know, to me, it seems the easiest thing in the world to pick up a phone and call people, whether you call someone or someone calls you. But here it seems that you all speak to bureaucrats, you speak to journalists.
No, but that is the process.
Is that the way
that is the
politics
process.
is done?
No, not the politics, but that is the process. Because, you know, you tell, and like I said, that inner party things, a disciplined person doesn't talk much about it. And it's not my discipline to go beyond this. Whatever I have said, I think I should not go beyond that, because I don't think so. It's pleasant for anybody, and it's not proper also. So I have just my Lakshman Rekha as
is
far
what
as
you have already said, which is that it was a foregone conclusion that no matter what happened in the budget, Dinesh Trivedi would be out.
you know, because
You have said that.
because that was also a common perception and knowledge.
And you believe that?
Otherwise, I believed it.
Okay, is it fair to come to the conclusion that Dinesh Trivedi has burnt his bridges
No, but why?
with the Trinamool
But
Congress?
why? Because we can differ, and the difference is quite healthy. When many times on the floor of the house, if you see in cabinets, people really argue their point of view, and that is what healthy democracy is all about. So I would have expected, and there is no harm in talking about it, that the party or the leader should have said that, hey, here you have done this. What are the implications? How is it going to help? What is going to be the fallout? All these things needs to be talked about it, discussed about it. So when I gave this details to this particular bureaucrat, and there was no feedback, because in that the freight increase was also there.
Right,
And the
which was
freight
announced before the budget.
Exactly. The freight increase was announced, and we had the freight increase. There was no kind of feedback. There was no kind of anger by any quarter, even my leader. So I thought everything is fine, and I was too busy with my piece of work, and that's what is important. But let me tell you that if I had not increased the freight, I would not have been able to balance the budget.
Like I keep saying through this conversation, it's not the economics people want to talk to you about, because I don't think people are questioning that too much. There would be differences in some, you know, of opinion in some of the things you had proposed. But what's the point in talking about them, because you're not there to implement those proposals?
Is life permanent?
No, it's not.
Okay.
But the question is that today, are you in no man's land? Because
no, I am in people's land. On the contrary, earlier I would have been no man's land. Today I am in people's land. Today I am a people's person.
When I say you're in no man's land, I wonder if you're in a situation where, you know, you will not quit the party, because if you quit the party, you lose the Lok Sabha seat, and the party won't let you go, because then, you know, if they ask you to go, you keep the Lok Sabha seat, you know, which is, it happens with all politicians.
But these are, should I tell you, again, I am not trying to make you feel that I am larger than life. How does it matter? You know, there are MPs, and MPs will come, they'll go, ministers will come and go.
So are you going to quit the party?
How does, no, but tell me one thing. Are we fighting? Am I fighting with the party, or am I fighting with somebody? It's not a fight. It's an expression of an opinion, of a way forward, which we can differ. That doesn't mean there's something terribly wrong.
No, but Mrs. Trivedi, I'm really confused. You know, someone tweeted to me, Dinesh Trivedi has done a Hari Sadhu on Mamata Banerjee. You know that popular campaign where this guy exposes his boss to be dictatorial.
Let me
if you have done that, how? I don't understand. What do you say to someone when you go on national TV and say that that person is, you know, new but didn't support you, doesn't care for you?
Please understand.
How then will you work together?
I have never said anything which is derogatory, okay? And I can tell you again, there is just no comparison between me and Mamata Banerjee. She's a national leader, and I don't think so there is any clash of anything as far as I am concerned. And I cannot convince you or people enough that I have done my job, and if given that job, I would still do. Otherwise, what is the point on sitting on that chair? You see, my position, I'll explain you. This you will understand. I'm like a doctor, like a surgeon. I know that this patient requires this treatment. If this treatment is not given, as far as me as that particular doctor or surgeon is concerned, I would feel the patient will die. So, if somebody says, whoever, if the owner of the hospital says that don't do the surgery, I said then you find some other doctor. That doesn't mean that I'm going to leave the hospital or I'm going to go away. It's not a fight, please understand. These are all part of freedom of expression, and this is why Nehru ji, Gandhi ji, Vallabhbhai Patel, Tilak, they differed all the time. Did it mean that somebody ran away? I think in India we have to come to that kind of a mindset, that you should have freedom of expression. And if you are put there as the railway minister at that point in time, I would know the best because I'm there as the top guy. Nobody else will know what the problem is. But at the same time, being a disciplined soldier, I've been put there by the party, by Mamata Banerjee. If Mamata Banerjee wishes, I should go. And I must also tell you that it was an unwritten understanding between me and her that the moment you want me to go anytime, pick up the phone, tell me, it'll take me 10 seconds, and that's what I did. So there's no fight. I don't think so one should look as a big fight going on, no.
Does she still see value in you?
I'm sure, I have no doubt about it, I'm sure.
So you're a part of the Trinamool Congress party?
Well, I am, of course, we attended the meeting that day. You know, I am not petty about things and I am not aggrieved, I have no complaints.
By implication, it seems to be that everybody else around you is, isn't it?
You do your part. Because if you think about all those things, then you get into too much of negativity.
But Mr. Trivedi, where does that leave you? You had great ideas. You don't have an opportunity to implement them. So you did your job at up to the point of delivering the budget. But what about taking it through? Because
but I might not have been able to do it in any case. At least I have shown a way, I have shown a path, I have shown a goal. So anybody can walk through that path.
We heard the new Railways Minister Mukul Roy say that the fare hike is going to be rolled back except for 3 and 2 tier AC. You know the details. He also said that some of the reforms you had suggested, whether it was the 2 railway board members, one representing PPP, one representing safety, the independent tariff regulator, none of those are necessary and they will not happen. So if you had not got into the politics of this, you may have been there to at least implement those elements, isn't it, sir?
Well, is there any limit of compromise? If supposing, hypothetically, I would have been told that don't do PPP, don't do a member safety, then what is the point of my being there? Please understand 2 important things. I got the best of brains, whether it is Kakotkar, Sam Pitroda or Sridharan. Now, if they have given me a prescription to take the railways to next generation, right? And if you are not in a position to implement that, so what was my choice? Please understand. My choice was to remain in the chair, enjoy the goodies if there are, and just be one of those guys who drag on with the system. Or, which I said in my speech, that I had 2 choices. Either incremental change, drag the system, or take it to the next generation.
Right.
And that is why I use the expression biting the bullet. So I was very, very clear in my mind that even if I had stayed on, let's say, I don't think so I would have been able to implement whatever I did. So at least I got the opportunity to show the roadmap. I'm not trying to say that my roadmap is the only way to go, no. As far as the new minister is concerned, if he has learned much more than I have in one day, then he's a brilliant guy. And I don't think so I should make any comment. A lot of people with a lot of experience have done this hard work, and it has not happened in one day. My budget preparation started the day I took the job. And this Kakotkar and Sam Pitroda committee were the backbones of my budget, let me tell you that.
I know you.
So, in your question, if politics have taken better of economics, so be it. If that's what the country wants, so be it. What can one person do?
The Prime Minister praised the railway budget. He also took his time about that decision of your resignation. Till it came from you, he didn't make that decision formally. Are you disappointed that the railway budget now is going through with all these changes, even though it was praised by the Prime Minister and the government?
Why should I? I have, I keep on repeating one thing. I have done my duty and I am very happy about it. And when you talk about the Prime Minister, I must thank him. And I can tell you also on record, Prime Minister would never ever have asked my resignation for sure. Never.
You know, a lot of people have been saying that Dinesh Trivedi at some point may rejoin the Congress party, which is where his political career began. What do you say to that?
I don't say anything to that. I just smile.
Some of the commentators on this current situation have said that there is this feeling that we are looking at an American style of democracy and functioning. The criticism is that you were working in another system and in another context, whereas our system and our context believes that ministers are nominated by their parties and therefore, accountable to their parties first.
First of all, let me just clarify 2-3 things. America is a much older democracy than we are. We are a bigger democracy, but they are older democracy. So they have gone through all these ups and downs of democracy. It just doesn't, it has not happened overnight. So we are learning the process of democracy. Our entire society is feudal. So somewhere down the line, consciously or subconsciously, we have accepted this feudal system. And that is one of the ills of our politics today, where you are not, if you talk, your mind means you are a rebel. And this is where I had been telling, not today, but for last few months, that free railways from politics, and there has to be, you said the new minister has come, he has changed. This is precisely I was telling, that there has to be a national policy of railways, like you have defense and like you have in external affairs. Otherwise, somebody else will come, they will do something else. Railway is not a toy of, anybody. So national policy has to be there on railway. I have tried, flagged all the issues. This is not the end of life. These issues are going to be debated time and again.
In hindsight, you would have done it the same way?
I would have done the same way. How would I know? Once I have already given it, and once the party bosses and the party and the country and the world is aware about what I am going to do, in your program also I said, if I have to bite the bullet, I will do that. Everybody knew about it. There was no other way of doing it, okay? And for all you know, I might have kept some buffer. That when I have been asked to roll back,
you would make some adjustments.
This is the buffer I had kept. And if you are hanged without even asking and without even telling what your, your crime is, this is not the way democracy works. Please understand. Where is it? I don't want to use any words, otherwise you will say that you are comparing. There has to be some process. And the process, to my mind, is discussion, talk. Otherwise, we are getting into extremes.
Mr. Trivedi, in the run-up to the budget, you managed to galvanize a lot of attention on the railways and what was wrong with it and how it could be fixed. Now, would I be right in saying that you were not supposed to be Railways Minister and that job came to you in July last year by accident, quite literally? When Mamata Banerjee moved to West Bengal to become Chief Minister, the Minister of State for Railways, then Mr. Mukul Roy, would have been the Railways Minister, isn't it?
Yeah, that was the first choice.
So, would I be right in presuming that you got this job and then you made it more high profile and maybe that's why you had to lose it because it was not meant for you in the first place?
I don't think so. I should comment on that. But yes, I did my work in an efficient manner. And those days I just shut my political cap totally out and I did it too professionally. I think one lesson one should learn is don't use your professional skills in politics. You just be a politician and that would be a sad day. But I don't think so I am capable of doing that. What happens is there's far too much of negativity. I'm not talking about railways alone. I'm not talking about Trinamool Congress. Generally speaking, there's too much of jealousy. The country is not kept in mind. It is far behind. How can somebody do a good job? It's there everywhere, it's just seen. And I think this country can be so much above all the countries. We have got so much of energy in the youngsters. And I can tell you, this country doesn't deserve this. I'm not talking about Dinesh Trivedi. I'm talking in general.
The railway unions have supported the fare hike proposals that you had suggested. Do you see a confrontation going forward?
See, railway unions have flagged this issue many times that they didn't want to go the Air India way. And if you did not have money, they wouldn't get salary. I must tell you, it was a blessing in disguise. You kept on asking that what happened, what did you do? I at least gave oxygen that today, after increasing the freight, at least we have some money to carry on for a year. They will get salaries. I had jacked up the price and all because our renewal contracts for maintenance were expiring. And 2 lakh people are supposed to be employed for safety. Knowing all these things, you think I could have just kept quiet and said, okay, let me save my job, let the people go to hell. Can't do that. So all these things, union today, they have money for a year. Today the unions are somewhat demoralized, but they are too disciplined to get into any kind of confrontation. To answer your question, I don't see any confrontation. These are all just for a day or two, just to flag an issue, but I don't think. They are too disciplined people, they are great guys.
I find it ironic that both you and Mamata Banerjee keep quoting the same 2 lines. The head is held high and the mind is without fear.
I do practice it. I'm not saying that she doesn't, but I have practiced it.
It looks like the interpretations are totally different maybe.
I don't know, because you know, I never want to get into anybody else's shoes. And as long as you are doing your work, I keep on repeating the same thing.
So final question.
You are doing your work very well. I do my work the best way I know, and that's what counts.
Mr. Trivedi, it's been interesting knowing you. We wish you all the best, and I'm sure we're going to see you again.
Thank you, surely.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.